What's up, Broncos Country? Our Broncos just pulled off one of the most absurd, most thrilling, most impossible comebacks of the last decade. And when I say impossible, it's because it really seemed impossible, family. Down by 14 points in the fourth quarter, playing on the road against the current conference champion in a hostile environment, with the opposing crowd screaming on every play. But you know what happened? The Broncos said it wasn't going down like that. They said that field was going to be theirs, and they turned the impossible into reality. Stick with me until the end, because this victory is going into the history books, folks. This was more than a game. It was a declaration of war to the entire league. Let's start from the beginning, because this victory became even more impressive when you understand the full context. The Broncos were playing on a short week, woke up in the middle of the night, traveled across the country, and faced a Philadelphia Eagles team that was undefeated at home for over a year. That's right, over a year without losing inside Lincoln Financial Field. And it wasn't just any Eagles team, folks. It was the championship team, the team everyone thought was going to run over Denver. When the clock showed the end of the third quarter, the score was 17-3 Eagles. We had only made one field goal the entire game. 7 of the Broncos' 8 possessions ended in punts after punt. The offense couldn't get anything going. The attack seemed stuck. And anyone watching that game was thinking the same thing. It's over. Another road loss. Another lackluster offensive performance. But no, family. Because this team has something different. This team has character. This team has grit. And most importantly, this team believes until the last second. Bo Nix, our rookie quarterback, was having an extremely difficult game. Through the end of the third quarter, he had completed just 15 of 29 passes he attempted for a measly 116 yards and no touchdowns. The pressure was massive. The Eagles' defense was all over him the entire time. Nothing was working. But you know what separates a great player from an average player? It's the ability to pick yourself up when everything seems lost. And Bo Nix showed he has that winning mentality running through his veins. In the fourth quarter, the kid simply became a different player. It seemed like someone flipped a switch and he entered full clutch mode. In those final 15 minutes of the game, Bo completed 9 of 10 passes he attempted. That's right, 9 of 10. He commanded 126 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, and led 3 drives that resulted in points. It was 18 unanswered points. The Eagles simply couldn't do anything offensively anymore, while Nix and the Broncos offense woke up for real. The first touchdown drive was spectacular. Bo started finding his receivers, the offensive line held up against the pressure, and the attack started working like it should have from the beginning. Broncos touchdown. The score became 17-10. Hope returned. The bench exploded. The players believed. And then came the second drive, the one that will be forever marked in the memory of everyone who's a fan of this team. Another touchdown. But instead of kicking the extra point to tie the game at 17-17, Sean Payton made a call that showed exactly what this team is. He decided to go for the 2-point conversion. Risk it all. Put the win on the line. Show that the Broncos didn't come to Philadelphia looking for a tie. They came to win. And you know what Bo Nix did when he got the play call? Executed it with absolute perfection. Troy Franklin made a cutting move with his left foot that left the Eagles' cornerback completely lost. Bo saw the window open and didn't hesitate. He threw the ball with surgical precision. Franklin caught it in the back of the end zone. Conversion completed. Broncos ahead 18-17. The stadium that had been deafening just minutes ago fell into absolute silence. The 70,000 Eagles fans couldn't believe what they were seeing. And us, Broncos Country, exploded with joy. After the interview, Bo said something that shows his confidence in Sean Payton's scheme and the team's preparation. He said he wasn't surprised by the decision to go for 2 points, that as soon as the coach gave the formation and the play, he just had to execute. And he executed because they had been practicing that move for weeks. That's preparation, folks. That's having a detailed game plan. That's trusting your teammates. Troy Franklin ran a perfect route because he had trained that dozens of times. Bo threw the ball in the right place because he knew exactly what to expect. That's the kind of thing winning teams do. But the comeback didn't end there. Because there was still time on the clock, and the Eagles still had Jalen Hurts, one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in the league. So what did the Broncos do? They put the ball on the ground, controlled the clock, and killed any chance of a response. Bo Nix commanded an 11-play drive that covered 50 yards and ate up several precious minutes. At the end of that sequence, Will Lutz came on the field and made his second field goal of the day. Final score was 21-17. But it still wasn't over, family. The Eagles had one last chance, one last possession. And Jalen Hurts is the type of quarterback you can never underestimate. He started moving the team down the field. The tension returned, all of us holding our breath. Would the defense be able to hold? And then, in the most critical moment of the game, with the Eagles advancing dangerously, the Broncos defense showed up again. Vance Joseph deserves all the applause in the world. His defense was absolutely suffocating when it needed to be most. After the Broncos took the lead, the Eagles had 5 final possessions. 5 chances to respond, 5 opportunities to retake the lead, and the Broncos defense allowed absolutely nothing. 0 points on the last 5 drives. That's total defensive dominance, Broncos Country. On the last play of the game, with time running out, Jalen Hurts threw a desperation ball to the end zone. It was all or nothing for the Eagles. The ball cut through the air toward the Philadelphia receivers. And who showed up to save the day? Patrick Surtain II, our All-Pro cornerback, made the play of his life. He was glued to the receiver, read the ball's trajectory perfectly, and simply deflected the pass. Incomplete ball, game over. Broncos victory. What happened next was pure emotion. The Broncos players exploded in celebration in the middle of the field. Hugs all around, shouts of joy, tears of emotion, because everyone knew what that victory meant. It wasn't just another win. It was the biggest Broncos victory since Super Bowl 50 almost 10 years ago. It was proof that this team can compete with any opponent. It was confirmation that the Broncos are back at the top of the league. And check out this absurd statistic. It was only the second time in 114 road games that the Broncos entered the fourth quarter down by 14 points or more and managed to come back and win. The first time was in 2023, Week 4, against Chicago, when we came back from 28-14 and won 31-20. That was Sean Payton's first win as Broncos head coach. And this victory against the Eagles? This is his signature win. The win that will define his legacy in Denver. The win that shows he knows how to build a winning team. Now let's talk about defense, because without it, this comeback would have never happened. Nick Bonito had a simply sensational performance. The guy recorded 2.5 sacks by himself, bringing his total to 7 sacks in the first 5 weeks of the season. That puts him as the absolute leader of the league in sacks so far. And the Broncos as a team? They finished the game with 6 total sacks, giving them an impressive 21 sacks on the season. That's the highest number in the entire league. Last season, the Broncos established a franchise record with 65 sacks. At this pace, we're going to break that record again. The defensive line was dominant. The linebackers were everywhere, and the secondary was suffocating the Eagles' receivers. Jalen Hurts had no room for anything. Every time he dropped back to pass, there was a Broncos defender on him. Every time he tried to run, he was tackled behind the line. The defense simply took over the game in the second half and didn't give any openings. And let's also talk about the work of our rookie punter, Jeremy Crawshaw. The kid had a fundamental performance through the first 3 quarters. He punted 7 times and managed to pin the Eagles inside the 15-yard line 5 times. That's incredible, folks. He won the field position battle practically by himself. While the offense was struggling, Crawshaw kept the Eagles always far from the end zone, forcing them to go the entire field on every drive. And that made all the difference in the end. But it wasn't all roses. We also had some tense moments. Safety J.L. Skinner committed a pass interference penalty on the Eagles' last drive that scared everyone. And he almost got flagged with another penalty on a play near the end zone with just 9 seconds left on the clock. They were risky plays that could have cost the game. But in the end, everything worked out. Those are the adjustments we need to make during the practice week. You can't commit those errors in crucial moments. Fortunately, his teammates covered for him, and the defense held. Now, family, I need you to understand the complete context of this victory. The Broncos were playing on a short week. They had faced the Raiders the previous Monday. They woke up at dawn to catch a flight to Philadelphia. They arrived tired, And on top of that, they were going to travel to London right after the game. Many teams would crumble in this situation, would use that as an excuse, but not the Broncos. They embraced the challenge. They went there and won. And after the game, already in the locker room, Bo Nix said something that perfectly summarizes the spirit of this team. He said the victory proves that the Broncos can win on the road against elite teams, that they can be a tough team to face, that it's good for confidence, and most importantly, that while many teams usually struggle before traveling to London, the Broncos focused on the game, focused on the objective, and went there and succeeded. The mentality of this group is in the right place. They're not making excuses. They're not complaining about the schedule. They're simply going game by game and doing the work. And when you have a rookie quarterback who already shows this maturity, this coolness in decisive moments, you have something special on your hands. Speaking of Bo Nix, let's analyze his performance in a deeper way. It's true that the first 3 quarters were terrible. 15 of 29 for only 116 yards and no touchdowns. Any analyst who looked only at those numbers would say he had a horrible game. But what separates the greats from the mediocre is precisely what happens when things aren't working. Bo could have given up, could have let the pressure take over, could have started forcing bad plays. But he didn't do any of that. He continued executing the game plan, continued trusting his teammates, continued believing that things would get better. And when the fourth quarter arrived, when the team needed him most, he elevated his level to another level. That's what great quarterbacks do. That's what winners do. And Bo Nix proved he has that winning DNA. Sean Payton also deserves enormous credit. The decision to go for the 2-point conversion was bold and calculated. He knew that if he succeeded, he would take all the energy from the Eagles and put the Broncos ahead. And that's exactly what happened. After that conversion, you could feel the momentum shift in the stadium. The Eagles were shaken. The Broncos got wings. And the rest is history. The coaching staff's preparation was also impeccable. That 2-point conversion play wasn't luck. It was something they had been working on for weeks. That shows the coaching staff is thinking about all possible scenarios, is preparing the players for any situation, and when it's time to execute, they're ready. Vance Joseph, our defensive coordinator, did a masterful job of halftime adjustments. Whatever he said to those players in the locker room worked perfectly. The defense that was struggling in the first 2 quarters transformed into an impenetrable wall in the second half. The Eagles couldn't do absolutely anything. And in the final moments, when the pressure was at maximum, it was the defenders who secured the victory. Patrick Surtain II continues to prove he's one of the best cornerbacks in the league. That last play was the perfect definition of an elite defender. He was in the right position, at the right time, and made the play when it mattered most. That's the type of player you build entire defenses around. That's the type of player who wins championships. And the defensive line. Simply dominant. Nick Bonito is having an otherworldly season. Leading the league in sacks through 5 weeks isn't a coincidence. It's hard work. It's technique. It's dedication. And the rest of the line is keeping up with him at that high level. When you have a pass rush as effective as ours, you make everyone's job easier on defense. The cornerbacks can cover more aggressively because they know the quarterback will have to release the ball quickly. The linebackers can play looser because the line is controlling the line of scrimmage. It's a positive domino effect. Now, Broncos Country, let's talk about what this means for the rest of the season. With this victory, the Broncos are at a record of 3 wins and 2 losses. And if they manage to beat the Jets in London next Sunday, they come home at 4 wins and 2 losses. That would put the Broncos in excellent position in the playoff race. But more than the record, what this victory brings is confidence. It's proof to the locker room that they can compete with any team in the league. They went to Philadelphia, to the home of the current champion, and won in comeback fashion. That's the type of victory that defines seasons. It's the type of victory that creates momentum. It's the type of victory that makes other teams in the league start to respect you. The Eagles were absolute favorites. All the analysts picked them as easy winners. The Eagles fans themselves were confident in another home victory, and the Broncos simply destroyed that narrative. They showed that it doesn't matter what others think. Doesn't matter who's the favorite. What matters is what happens within the four lines when the game starts, and that's the mentality this team needs to maintain. Not be satisfied with one victory, no matter how important it is. Use it as fuel to keep improving. Keep working. Keep evolving. Because if the Broncos maintain this level of play, especially defensively, and if Bo Nix continues showing this ability to make clutch plays in decisive moments, this team can go very far. The trip to London is also an interesting test. Many teams have difficulties when they play in England. The time zone difference, the fatigue from the long trip, the adaptation to the different environment, all of this can affect performance. But the Broncos are arriving there with sky-high confidence. They're arriving after achieving the franchise's biggest victory in a decade. And they're going to face a Jets team that hasn't won a single game this season. On paper, the Broncos should win comfortably. But we know that in football nothing is guaranteed. The Jets are desperate for a victory. They'll play with the energy of those who have nothing to lose. And if the Broncos arrive relaxed, too confident, they could be in for a surprise. That's why it's fundamental that the coaching staff keeps the players focused. There can be no complacency. There can be no relaxation. Every game is a new battle. Every game needs to be treated with the same intensity. But if there's one thing this victory against the Eagles showed, it's that this team knows how to respond to adversity. When they were losing badly, they didn't give up. When everything seemed lost, they found a way to win. That's character. That's a winning mentality. And that's not built overnight. It's the result of work, of culture, of leadership. Sean Payton is building something special in Denver. He brought a winning culture. He brought discipline. He brought offensive and defensive systems that work. And most importantly, he brought the belief that this team can win any game against any opponent. This victory against the Eagles is proof of that. Before wrapping up, I need to talk about some other important aspects. Left guard Ben Powers didn't travel with the team to London. He went straight back to Denver to have tests done on his injured bicep. That's concerning because the offensive line is fundamental to the offense's success. If Powers is out for a few weeks, it'll be a test of the roster's depth. The next man up will have to get the job done. Backup quarterback Jarrett Stidham also stayed in Denver because his wife is expecting the couple's third child. He should join the team during the week in London. These are the types of situations that happen during a long season. And what's important is having enough depth to deal with these situations without losing quality. But aside from these specific concerns, the team is in great shape. The defense is playing at the highest level. The offense found its rhythm at the right time. And the team as a whole is believing in itself. When you combine talent with confidence, special things can happen. If you're true Broncos Country, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any moment of this historic season we're living through. So, Denver Broncos family, what did you think of this epic comeback? Did you believe when we were down 17-3 at the end of the third quarter? Or had you already lost hope? And what do you think about Bo Nix? Does he have what it takes to be the franchise quarterback we've been looking for? Comment below your impressions of this historic victory. Leave a like on this video. Share it with all the Broncos Country friends you know because this victory needs to be celebrated. And stay tuned to the channel because we'll keep bringing all the analysis, all the plays, all the news about our Denver Broncos. This victory against the Eagles wasn't just another game. It was a statement. It was proof that the Broncos are back, that this team has what it takes to compete with the best, that no matter the size of the challenge, this group will fight until the last second. Broncos Country, let's go all the way. Until the next video, go Broncos!